The night at Le Mirage had ended, but the memory of the arrogant guest lingered. Mia, the waitress, stood by the window, watching the man's car disappear into the distance. Her fingers gently touched the old photograph hidden in her locker, a reminder of a past she had kept buried. In the quiet kitchen, the staff cleaned up, their movements routine. One of the chefs, Carlos, approached Mia, concern etched on his face. "Mia," he began softly, "that man, he seemed familiar. Is everything okay?" Mia offered a faint smile. "Just someone from the past, Carlos. Nothing to worry about." Carlos hesitated, then nodded, respecting her privacy. Later that night, as Mia sat alone in the staff lounge, she unfolded the photograph. It showed a younger version of herself, standing beside a man who bore a striking resemblance to the rude guest. Memories flooded back, of laughter, betrayal, and a life turned upside down. The next day, the restaurant buzzed with activity. Mia went about her duties, her demeanor calm and professional. But inside, a storm brewed. That evening, the same man returned, his presence commanding attention. He sauntered in, arrogance in every step, and took his usual seat. Mia approached, menu in hand. "Welcome back, sir," she greeted, her voice steady. He glanced up, smirking. "Ah, the ever-smiling waitress. Let's hope the service is better today." Mia nodded, unflustered. "We'll do our best to meet your expectations." As the evening progressed, the man's behavior remained condescending. He criticized the food, belittled the staff, and made snide remarks. Yet Mia remained composed, her responses measured. In the kitchen, Carlos watched with concern. "Why does she tolerate this?" he wondered aloud. Another staff member replied, "Mia has her reasons. She's stronger than she looks." After the man left, Mia sat in a lounge, the photograph in her hands. She whispered to herself, "He doesn't remember me, but I remember everything." The story of Mia's past began to unfold, a tale of trust broken, a family torn apart, and a young woman rising from the ashes. The man who now mocked her had once played a role in her family's downfall. And now, fate had brought them face to face once more. Mia knew that confronting the past was inevitable, but she also knew that revenge wasn't the answer. Instead, she sought understanding, closure, and perhaps redemption. As the night deepened, Mia made a decision. She would face her past, not with anger, but with grace. And in doing so, she hoped to find peace. The evening sun cast a warm glow over Le Mirage, the upscale restaurant known for its elegance and impeccable service. Inside, the ambience was serene, with soft music playing and the gentle clinking of cutlery. Mia, the poised and graceful waitress, moved effortlessly between tables, attending to guests with her usual calm demeanor. Her eyes, however, occasionally drifted towards the entrance, as if anticipating something or someone. As the clock struck 7, the doors swung open, and in walked the familiar figure of Mr. Thompson, the arrogant guest who had previously belittled Mia. He was alone this time, his usual companion absent. His eyes scanned the room before settling on Mia. "Ah, the ever-smiling waitress," he sneered, approaching her. "I trust you've improved since our last encounter." Mia offered a polite nod. "Good evening, sir. Your table is ready." She led him to a secluded corner, ensuring privacy. As he settled in, Mia handed him the menu. "I'll have the usual," he declared without looking. "And make it quick. I have important matters to attend to." "YouTube." Mia nodded and retreated to the kitchen. Inside, the staff worked diligently, preparing the meal with precision. Mia observed them, her mind elsewhere. As the dish was plated, Mia approached the head chef. "Ensure it's perfect," she whispered. "Tonight is significant." Back at the table, Mr. Thompson tapped his fingers impatiently. When Mia returned with the dish, he barely acknowledged her. He took a bite and paused. "Surprisingly decent," he muttered. "Perhaps there's hope for you yet." Mia remained silent, her expression unreadable. After finishing his meal, Mr. Thompson reached into his pocket, only to realize his wallet was missing. He patted his jacket and frowned. "It appears I've forgotten my wallet," he said, looking up at Mia. "Be a dear and add it to my tab." Mia tilted her head slightly. "I'm afraid we don't operate on tabs, sir." He scoffed. "Do you know who I am? I frequent this establishment. Surely, an exception can be made." Mia's gaze was steady. "I'm aware of who you are, Mr. Thompson. However, our policy is clear." He leaned back, exasperated. "Fine. I'll settle it tomorrow." Mia paused before speaking. "Alternatively, you could apologize to the staff for your previous behavior. That would suffice." Mr. Thompson's eyes widened. "Apologize? To them?" She nodded. "Respect is a two-way street, sir." He laughed, a hollow sound. "You're overstepping, waitress." Mia's expression remained calm. "Perhaps, but dignity is important." He stood abruptly. "This is absurd. I'll return with payment." He stormed out, leaving a tense silence in his wake. The staff looked at Mia, concern evident. "Are you okay, Carlos?" the chef asked. She nodded. "Yes, sometimes lessons are best taught through experience." Later that evening, Mia sat in her office, a serene smile on her face. She opened a drawer and retrieved a document, a deed to La Mirage. Her name was elegantly inscribed at the bottom. Yuck. She whispered to herself. Patience reveals all truths. The restaurant lights were dim, but the tension between Mia and Daniel Carter could be felt by everyone nearby. After being asked to apologize in front of the entire restaurant, Daniel had gone quiet. His usual smirk was gone. Maya stood calmly beside the table. Her words still hung in the air. "Apologize. To me. To the staff. To everyone you've disrespected here." Daniel looked around. Several guests were watching. Some staff peeked from behind the kitchen door. The woman sitting at the table next to him whispered something to her partner. Everyone was waiting. Daniel cleared his throat and leaned back in his chair. "I think this is a misunderstanding." Mia didn't flinch. "It's not, sir." He looked away, uncomfortable. "Fine. If that's what it takes to pay the bill, then I'm sorry." The words came out flat, empty. Maya shook her head. "That's not an apology, sir. That's just noise." Daniel's face turned red. For the first time in years, he felt powerless. He stood up. "You don't talk to me like that. Do you know who I am?" Mia's eyes didn't believe his. "Do you know who I am?" The room went silent again. Daniel froze. "What?" Mia slowly reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a small photo, the same one she had stared at night after night. She placed it gently on the table. Daniel looked down. He blinked, then blinked again. The photo showed a younger version of Mia, standing beside a smiling man in a business suit. In the background was a building with a large sign, La Mirage, coming soon. He picked it up with trembling fingers. This can't be." "That man beside me is my father," Maya said, her voice steady. "We were building this restaurant together, before your family took everything." Daniel's eyes widened. He remembered now. Vaguely. There had been a business partner, a man who trusted his father too much, a man who lost everything when the company was signed away in a deal. "Yes," Maya said. "I was just a teenager. My father trusted your father." They shook hands, smiled for cameras. "Then your family's lawyers came." Daniel sat down again, suddenly quiet. "My father died a year later," Mia continued. "He had nothing left. No money, no pride, just shame. And you walk in here, week after week, throwing around money, mocking the staff, as if people like us don't matter." Daniel didn't say anything. His hands trembled slightly. Maya took the photo and put it away. Now tell me, do you still think I'm just a waitress? Daniel's mouth opened, but no words came out. For once, he had nothing clever to say. I started over, Maya said. I worked, saved every dollar, and rebuilt this restaurant from the ground up. I did what your family never thought I could do. Daniel looked down at the table. His face was pale. I didn't know, he whispered. I swear, I didn't know it was you, or that this place belonged to your family. You never cared to know, Maya said. That's the problem. He looked up, guilt in his eyes. I'm sorry. This time, it sounded different. Quieter. Real. I mean it, he added. I didn't know how bad it was. I was young. I just thought it was business. I didn't know people got hurt. Mia stared at him. For a moment, she didn't say anything. Then she took a deep breath. I'm not here for revenge, Daniel, she said. I don't want anything from you. Not money. Not pity. I just want you to see the people around you and treat them like they matter. Daniel slowly nodded. I will. He pulled out his phone, tapped a few buttons, and paid the full bill, plus a generous tip, without saying another word. Then he stood up, straightened his jacket, and looked at her. I'll leave now, he said softly. As he turned and walked toward the door, something had clearly changed. He didn't walk like a king anymore. He walked like a man who had been reminded of what he had forgotten. His past, his mistakes, and his humanity. Carlos came out of the kitchen and stood beside Mia. You okay? He asked. Mia nodded. Yes. Carlos looked after Daniel. You think he really meant it? Mia watched the door close behind him. I don't know, she said honestly. But maybe this was the first time he ever heard the truth. She turned back to the kitchen and smiled slightly. I think it's time to let the past rest. But little did she know, the story wasn't over yet. A week had passed since Daniel Carter last visited Le Mirage. The restaurant had returned to its usual rhythm, busy, warm, and full of life. The staff laughed more freely, and Mia moved through the space with quiet pride. But the moment between her and Daniel still lingered in her heart. She didn't regret what she had done. Telling the truth had lifted a weight from her chest, yet a part of her still felt uneasy, as if something unfinished remained. One rainy evening, as thunder rolled across the sky, Le Mirage was quieter than usual. Only a few regular customers sat at their tables, enjoying hot soup and warm bread. Carlos stood at the counter, wiping down glasses. Feels like a slow night, he said. Mia nodded, sipping her tea. Maybe it's the weather. Just then, the front door opened with a soft chime. A tall figure stepped in, shaking off an umbrella. It wasn't Daniel. It was an older man. He wore a long black coat, silver hair slicked back neatly. His face was serious, sharp. He walked with purpose, like a man used to being in charge. The hostess approached him, but he raised his hand. His eyes were fixed on Mia. Carlos leaned closer and whispered, You know him. Mia's heart dropped. Her fingers tightened around the teacup. Yes, she said quietly. That's Daniel's father. Mr. Gregory Carter. The man who had destroyed her father's business. The man who had smiled during interviews and said it was just a clean business deal. Now he was standing in her restaurant. Mia stood up slowly and walked toward him. Mr. Carter, she said, keeping her voice steady. I didn't expect you. He nodded. I imagine not. He looked around. Impressive place. Very impressive. Mia didn't smile. You're not here for food, are you? No, he said, placing his umbrella in the stand. I'm here because my son told me what happened. She raised an eyebrow. And? Gregory Carter folded his hands behind his back. I didn't raise Daniel to be disrespectful. He has made some poor choices. I'm not here to defend him. Mia waited. He took a breath. He told me everything. About how he treated you. About your father. About what you said to him. Mia crossed her arms. It took him long enough to remember. Gregory nodded. I know. But what's worse is, I had forgotten too. Until he reminded me. Until he made me look back. He paused, looking at the photos on the wall, pictures of food, staff, and a smiling photo of Mia's father, framed in the corner. I remembered your father, Gregory said quietly. He was kind, honest, a bit too trusting. Mia didn't speak. We took advantage of that, he admitted. He trusted us, and we rewarded that trust by pushing him out of his own company. Mia's chest tightened. Hearing the truth, even now, felt like a wound reopening. I won't ask you to forgive me, Gregory continued. I came here to face what I've avoided for years. I wanted to see what you built, and I wanted to say, I was wrong. There was silence. Mia's voice was soft but firm. My father died thinking he was a failure, not because of numbers or business, but because someone he trusted betrayed him. Do you understand how that feels? Gregory nodded slowly. Yes, I do now. He reached into his coat and pulled out a sealed envelope. This isn't charity, he said, and it's not an apology in paper. It's a share document. The original business you and your father started, it still exists, under a different name. These papers return the original name and give you legal ownership of the brand. Mia's eyes widened. You earned this, Gregory said, far more than any of us ever did, and this is the very least I can do. He placed the envelope gently on the counter, then looked at her with tired, honest eyes. I'm sorry, Mia, truly. Mia stood still for a moment. Her emotions tangled together, anger, sadness, and something else, maybe peace. She looked down at the envelope, then up at the man who had once crushed her family's dream. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, she said honestly. I don't expect you to, Gregory said, but I hope one day you'll be free of what we took from you. He turned and walked out, leaving behind nothing but his words and a chance for closure. Carlos came up beside her. What was that? Mia handed him the envelope. A door, one I thought was locked forever. Carlos opened it slowly, and his eyes widened. You own the original business again. Mia nodded. Yes, it's finally back. But deep inside, she knew this wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning of something new. Because sometimes, when the past knocks again, it comes with a key. The sun was setting behind the city, painting the sky in soft orange and pink. Inside Le Mirage, candles flickered gently on every table. The restaurant looked beautiful, elegant, quiet, almost magical. It had been 3 weeks since Mia received the documents from Gregory Carter, the man who had once destroyed her father's dream. She now owned more than just the restaurant. She had her father's legacy back. But tonight, something special was happening. She had reserved table 7, the most beautiful table near the window. It was set for 2 people, a white cloth, a single flower in a glass vase, 2 glasses of water. Nothing fancy, just perfect. Maya stood beside the table, looking out at the city lights. She took a deep breath. This was it. The door opened quietly. She turned. It was Daniel Carter. He walked in slowly, dressed simply. No designer suit, no gold watch, just jeans and a plain blue shirt. His eyes looked tired, but his face was calm. Mia nodded toward the table. You came. Daniel gave a small smile. You asked me to. He pulled out the chair and sat down. Mia sat across from him. Neither of them spoke for a moment. They just looked at each other. Then Daniel broke the silence. My father told me what he did. The papers. Giving the name back. You must think it's too late. Mia folded her hands. Not too late. Just surprising. I've changed, Daniel said softly. Not just because of what you said, but because you made me see something. I thought I was powerful because of money. But real strength is what you did. Starting from nothing, building something true. Mia stayed quiet. Daniel continued. I grew up thinking respect came from status, from being the richest in the room. But you earned respect with kindness, with truth. Mia looked at him seriously. People like me don't get second chances. We have to fight for every little thing. I didn't want to destroy you or your family. I just wanted my father's name to mean something again. Daniel nodded. And it does. Because of you. A waiter brought over 2 simple plates, roasted chicken and vegetables. Mia had chosen the meal herself. She remembered it as her father's favorite. They began to eat quietly. After a few bites, Daniel asked, What will you do now, with the business name back? Mia smiled gently. I want to open a second restaurant, a place in my father's hometown. Somewhere small, humble, but filled with heart. That sounds beautiful, Daniel said. I'm not doing it for money, she added. I'm doing it for memory, for peace. There was silence again, a peaceful silence. Daniel then reached into his pocket and placed something on the table. It was a small photo, a copy of the same one Mia had shown him weeks ago, the one with her and her father. I had it restored, Daniel said. I wanted you to have a clean version. It deserves to be remembered clearly. Mia picked it up, eyes softening. Thank you, she whispered. He looked around the restaurant. Your father would be proud. Anyone can open a place with money, but only a few can make it feel like home. Mia stood and walked toward the wall where a picture of her father already hung. She placed the new, restored photo beside it. She turned back to Daniel. Would you like to work with me? She asked suddenly. Not as a partner, not as a boss. Just someone trying to learn what real life is. Daniel looked surprised. You'd trust me with that? Not trust, Maya said. But I believe people can grow, if they're willing. Daniel slowly smiled. Then yes, I'd be honored. As they both sat back down, the city lights sparkled through the window. The table was no longer just a place to eat. It was a table of truth, growth, and new beginnings. The restaurant buzzed quietly around them, but at table 7, it felt like time had slowed down. They didn't talk much after that. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. And in that silence, 2 people from opposite worlds shared something real. Not revenge, not guilt, but understanding.